On a sunny afternoon in the lively village of Omolewa, the echo of children's laughter was suddenly overshadowed by an unthinkable tragedy. A tragedy that would unravel secrets, ignite fury, and test the limits of justice in ways the village had never seen. Little Amina, the beacon of joy in the community, vanished without a trace, leaving behind a question that pierced every heart. Who could harm an innocent child in such a close-knit place?
Like and subscribe.
In a small, bustling village named Omolewa, known for its vibrant markets and warm-hearted people, a dark shadow loomed that shook the very foundation of its serenity. Omolewa was a place where children ran freely, laughter echoed through the air, and families gathered each evening to share stories under the starlit skies. But one fateful day, the innocence of the community was shattered. 6-year-old Amina was the light of her family and the pride of the entire village. With her big, curious eyes and a smile that could melt even the coldest hearts, she had a way of bringing joy to everyone she met. Whether she was helping her mother in the shop or chasing after butterflies in the fields, Amina radiated a charm that was impossible to resist. She often skipped through the dusty streets of Omolewa, her laughter ringing like a sweet melody that mingled with the chirping of birds and the rustling of trees. The villagers adored her, many calling her their little sunshine. To them, Amina symbolized innocence and hope, a reminder of simpler, purer times. Her parents, Hadiza and Musa, cherished her deeply. Hadiza, a hard-working tailor, often stayed up late sewing to ensure her family had all they needed. Musa, a builder with calloused hands and a kind heart, worked tirelessly to provide a stable life for his wife and daughter. Together, they showered Amina with love and affection, determined to give her a childhood full of happiness and dreams. Little did they know, their world was about to be shattered in the most unimaginable way. Despite how much Hadiza and Musa loved Amina, their busy schedules often left little time for her. Both were dedicated professionals, striving to provide the best for their family, yet their demanding careers often came at the expense of parenting. Arguments over who would pick Amina up from school became a daily ritual, with each parent hoping the other could spare the time. Many times, the discussions ended unresolved, leaving Amina waiting long after the school bell had rung. She would sit on the steps of her school, watching as one classmate after another was joyfully reunited with their parents, the minutes stretching into hours. On days when her patience wore thin, Amina would bravely decide to walk home by herself. Clutching her small backpack tightly, she would tread carefully along the dusty sidewalks, her tiny sandals kicking up clouds of red earth with each determined step. She relied on her sharp memory to recall the landmarks her parents had once pointed out: a large mango tree, a faded signboard, and the sound of the stream near their home. Despite her courage, her young heart often quickened with fear when the road seemed too quiet or a shadow moved unexpectedly. Occasionally, neighbors would spot her petite frame making its way down the street, her head held high but her steps cautious. She was a silent yet striking reminder of how even the most loving parents could unintentionally neglect their child in the chaos of life. Her presence on the road sparked concern among the villagers. 2 women carrying baskets of firewood once paused as they saw her walking along a lonely village road. One shook her head in dismay, whispering to the other, "Why would this little girl be coming back from school alone on such a deserted path?" The other woman frowned, glancing around nervously. "Especially now, when evil is on the rise," she replied, her voice tinged with worry. Though they resumed their journey, their hearts remained heavy, each silently praying for the little girl's safety in an increasingly dangerous world. Though Amina tried to appear strong, her resilience masked a deep loneliness. Her heart longed for the simple joys of being prioritized and cherished amidst her parents' hectic lives. One fateful day, after waiting for her parents longer than usual, Amina decided to trek home by herself again. As she made her way through the familiar village paths, she vanished, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions and unimaginable grief. The village was engulfed in grief and outrage. Mothers clutched their children tightly, and fathers spoke of vengeance. Hadiza and Musa were inconsolable, their cries piercing the stillness of the night. "Who could do this?" the villagers asked, their voices trembling with anger and disbelief. Chief Adamu, the village leader, convened an emergency meeting in the town square, his usually calm demeanor replaced with visible anguish. "We must find the monsters who did this to our little Amina," he declared, his voice trembling with emotion as he scanned the faces of his people. "We will not rest until justice is served, and our village is safe once more." His words ignited a fire in the villagers, who nodded in agreement, their determination mirroring his own. Search parties were quickly formed, with men and women determined to find Amina and bring her home. Armed with torches and machetes, they fanned out across the village, scouring fields, forests, and abandoned structures. Fear and urgency drove their efforts as they called her name into the night, hoping against hope for a response. Their worst fears were realized when one group stumbled upon an uncompleted building on the village's outskirts. Inside, they found Amina's lifeless body sprawled on the cold concrete floor. The sight was too horrifying to comprehend. Her small frame bore signs of unspeakable violation and torture, her innocence stolen in the most brutal way. The discovery sent shockwaves through the search party. Some dropped to their knees, wailing in anguish, while others stood frozen, their torches casting flickering shadows on the heartbreaking scene. Amina's tragic end plunged the village into mourning, igniting a fiery determination for justice. Meanwhile, rumors began to swirl, each one more unsettling than the last. Some whispered about a group of outcasts who had been spotted lurking near the village's outskirts. Others pointed accusingly at strangers who had passed through Omolewa in recent weeks, their unfamiliar faces now remembered with suspicion. As fear gripped the community, tempers flared, and old grievances resurfaced. Neighbors who once shared meals now exchanged heated words, each wary of the other. The tension threatened to unravel the unity of Omolewa, but amidst the chaos, one thing was clear: they would leave no stone unturned in their quest for justice for Amina. The breakthrough came when a young herdsman named Bala, who often wandered the outskirts of the village, reported seeing 4 men entering the abandoned shack around the time Amina disappeared. Bala described them in detail, and his testimony led the village elders to confront the suspects. The 4 men, Umar, Danjuma, Kola, and Sonny, were known troublemakers who had often been accused of theft and other petty crimes. When confronted, they denied any involvement in Amina's death, but their alibis were shaky and their behavior suspicious. The villagers handed them over to the local authorities for interrogation. The investigation moved swiftly, driven by the villagers' cries for justice. Evidence meticulously collected from the crime scene, combined with Bala's eyewitness testimony, painted a damning and undeniable picture of the crime. The investigators found fingerprints on Amina's body that matched those of the accused, solidifying the case against them. Further scrutiny revealed traces of her torn clothing hidden among their belongings, a discovery that left no room for doubt about their guilt. With the weight of the evidence pressing down on them, the men's initial defiance began to crumble. Interrogators pressed harder, recounting every piece of evidence until the truth became inescapable. One by one, they broke down under the pressure, their bravado replaced with stammered confessions. Their admissions revealed a sinister plot driven by greed and desperation, leaving the entire village reeling with anger and heartbreak. Justice, though pursued, could never undo the pain caused by their monstrous actions. During their confession, the courtroom fell into a stunned silence as the men described their heinous act. Umar, who appeared to be the leader of the group, spoke first. His voice was low and devoid of remorse. "It was Sonny who suggested it," he began. "He told us about a ritual that would make us wealthy. We were desperate for money. None of us had stable work, and we'd grown tired of struggling." Danjuma, visibly trembling, added, "There's a man in the neighboring town, a ritualist. He promised us wealth and power if we brought him the blood of an innocent. We didn't know who to target until we saw Amina coming back from school. She was alone at that moment, and," his voice cracked, "we thought it would be quick." The villagers in the courtroom gasped in horror. Hadiza's anguished cries echoed as Musa clenched his fists, his body trembling with restrained fury. Kola, the youngest of the group, tried to explain himself, though his words only deepened the villagers' disgust. "I didn't want to do it," he muttered. "But Umar said we'd all be rich. He said it was the only way to escape our miserable lives." Sonny, the instigator, stood tall, his expression unyielding despite the growing outrage around him. "We did what we had to," he spat, his glare sweeping across the crowd. "This world isn't fair. People like us, we're born to suffer while others feast." "We were only taking what we deserved." His words, instead of inspiring understanding, fanned the flames of anger among the villagers. Furious murmurs rippled through the crowd, their faces etched with disbelief and fury. How could he justify such cruelty? Their rage mounted, directed not only at Sonny but at the entire group of four, who now trembled under their scornful gazes. Their detailed confession painted a chilling and horrific picture of their crime, leaving the villagers in stunned silence. Sonny and his accomplices revealed how they had carefully planned every step, targeting little Amina because of her innocence and trust. They had approached her after school, offering sweets and toys to win her over. Amina, with her kind heart and love for simple joys, had followed them without hesitation, unaware of the darkness that awaited her. They led her to an abandoned shack on the outskirts of the village, a place where no one would hear her cries. There, the full extent of their cruelty unfolded. They had subjected the child to unspeakable torment before ending her life, their actions driven by greed and desperation. They admitted their motive: to fulfill the demands of a ritualist who had promised them wealth and prosperity in exchange for the innocent life. The villagers listened in horror, their disbelief giving way to uncontainable rage. Amina had been a symbol of joy and purity in Omolewa, her laughter a melody that brought smiles to many faces. Now, the realization of what had been taken from them ignited a fierce determination for justice, no matter the cost. The judge, a stern woman with a reputation for fairness, listened intently, her face etched with controlled fury. "You have not only committed a monstrous act but have torn apart a family and shattered a community," she said. "Your greed and desperation are no excuse for such depravity." When it came time for sentencing, she delivered her verdict with unwavering resolve. "Umar, Danjuma, Kola, and Sonny, you have committed a crime so vile that it defies comprehension. This court sentences you to life imprisonment. May this punishment serve as a deterrent to anyone who thinks they can prey on the innocent." The courtroom erupted in applause and tears. Hadiza and Musa held each other tightly, finding solace in the knowledge that justice had been served. The villagers, though still mourning Amina, felt a sense of closure. The monsters who had taken her life would never walk free again. In the months that followed, Omolewa slowly began to heal. The village came together to honor Amina's memory, building a small park in her name where children could play safely. Chief Adamu introduced stricter measures to protect the community, including a night watch and education programs on child safety. Hadiza and Musa channeled their grief into helping others. They started a foundation to support victims of violence, ensuring that no family would have to endure what they had. Their courage and resilience inspired the entire village, turning their pain into a force for good. Amina's story became a cautionary tale that transcended the boundaries of Omolewa, reaching neighboring villages and beyond. It served as a stark reminder of several invaluable lessons: the importance of vigilance, the need for parents to make time for their children despite life's demands, the power of unity in the face of adversity, and the unwavering pursuit of justice. Her tragic fate shook the community to its core but also ignited a collective resolve to protect the vulnerable and cherish the precious moments with loved ones. Though the scars of that fateful day lingered, Omolewa gradually began to heal. The pain of loss became a rallying cry for change, and the villagers grew closer, ensuring no child would ever face such a fate again. The streets, once shrouded in grief, were soon filled with the laughter of children once more, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the unbreakable strength of community. Merry Christmas to you all. Thank you for your unwavering support. Wishing you peace, joy, and countless blessings this festive season.